Can you ever really be sure your neighbors aren't in a death cult? Hello everyone and welcome to Movie Reviews by Josh. My name is Josh Terry and today I'm going to be talking about an old favorite, a movie from 1989 called The Burbs. The Burbs stars Tom Hanks as a guy out in the suburbs who's a little bit tired, a little bit paranoid, and he has a sneaking suspicion that his neighbors might maybe be burying bodies in the backyard. So this is kind of a comedy horror piece from Dante, who's a director that I think people may not know very well by name, but probably should. You probably best know him from Gremlins. He directed Gremlins back in the early 80s. And he also directed one of my all-time favorite movies, a movie called Inner Space, which introduced me to Mustangs and to Meg Ryan, not to mention the music of Sam Cooke as well. But Burbs came out after that, and it's just a great, funny little comedy that's just kind of, if you've seen any of his other movies, then this kind of has that wacky, quirky Dante charm. And most of it is really just kind of a simple plot. Tom Hanks, again, he's kind of at wit's end for a variety of reasons. And he lives on this little cul-de-sac kind of out in the suburbs somewhere. And Carrie Fisher plays his wife, his long-suffering wife. Rick Ducommun, who if you know movies from the era, you would probably recognize him. He's one of his neighbors, and Bruce Dern is another one of his neighbors, and they're all kind of eccentric and a little bit weird. So when a group of quiet and secretive neighbors moves in and just starts behaving a little bit suspiciously, the neighborhood paranoia and gossip starts getting stirred up. And then a neighbor down the street disappears suddenly over the weekend and things get even more tense. And things just kind of steamroll to the point where Tom Hanks and his crew are leading missions in the middle of the night to try to sneak into the backyard of the neighbors and see what's buried back there. So anyway, I don't want to tell you a whole lot more than that, other than to say this is just kind of a good, fun movie from an era that I think I miss a little bit. It's kind of a favorite era for me, especially for Tom Hanks, because this is before he started doing more serious roles. And of course, his acting later on in his career was fantastic and Academy Award winning and all that kind of stuff. And he's done, here are the qualifiers, right? I mean, he's done all kinds of great stuff. Honestly, I think my favorite Tom Hanks era is kind of like the late 80s, maybe early 90s era, where he was doing kind of these fun, quirky movies like The Burbs. This was around the time that he did Big. Joe versus the Volcano was another really, really fantastic one. This is just kind of a fun Tom Hanks movie. It's rated PG, although I would almost put it more at a PG-13 by today's standards. It's not a whole lot in terms of, sex and violence and language, but enough that I don't know that a PG would really be an accurate way to evaluate it based on the way that we see movies in 2020. So definitely recommend it as a fun one. All kinds of really great people in the cast. I mentioned some of the main ones. Corey Feldman plays a funny supporting role as kind of the crazy teenager across the street. Now the family, the quirky, secretive people, the neighbors who may or may not be death cultists, the head of the family is played by Henry Gibson, who you may remember from Laugh-In, or if you remember the Blues Brothers. And if you don't remember the Blues Brothers, you need to get to a point in your life where you do remember the Blues Brothers. He plays the head of the Illinois Nazis. Okay, so Henry Gibson is kind of like the head of the family of creepy neighbors versus Tom Hanks, and again Bruce Dern, Rick Ducommun, Corey Feldman, all kinds of fun stuff going on here. Just kind of your wacky situation, almost kind of a sitcom / movie. One of the things I think is kind of fun about this one is that it explores the old, kind of the Hollywood notion of, what's going on in the suburbs, because we perceive them to be this kind of boring middle America, nothing's going on, who knows, nobody cares. But really it's kind of fun and crazy and nutty under the surface. In a way, this is gonna sound kind of strange, but it almost kind of connects me to the TV show The Wonder Years, which came out during the same time. Of course, totally different tone, totally different subject matter, but also just kind of a celebration of suburban life and all of its craziness and wackiness. And so again, The Burbs, Tom Hanks, Dante, check it out, check out some other things. I would probably rate this at about 3.5 out of 4 stars because not necessarily my top 10 comedies of all time, but definitely one that if you are with a group of friends and you want to put something on and have a good laugh, it definitely suits the situation. It's great for Halloween. It's not necessarily Halloween specific. It's not going to feel weird watching it in July or in March or something like that. And like I said, probably kind of PG-13 in terms of its content. But yeah, check it out. In the meantime, why don't you tell me what your favorite Tom Hanks movie is? Let me know in the comments. Thanks again. This has been Movie Reviews by Josh. My name is Josh Terry. I'd love it if you'd subscribe on your way out and keep your notifications on so you can see my new videos as soon as they're posted. And have a great day. See ya.